Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. Today I'm going to define a chord for you. What is a chord? We're going to get to the etymology of this. So if you look back to the etymology of the word chord, it came from the word accord, and it means related notes. And it actually used to mean, now you were probably told that a chord means 3 notes or more. If you go back to an older definition of chord, it meant 2 notes that actually go together. And in the 1800s or something, it evolved to 3 notes. So chord in the original form was actually 2 notes or more together. So this helps us understand we can do a lot more. When you think of a chord as 2 notes or more, you will expand your awareness as to how to create long chord progressions. Okay, instead of just thinking in triad mode. We'll get into what a triad is later, but this is very important that you understand that a chord can be 2 notes or more to the original definition of a chord. Okay, so when we'll define all this stuff, but basically what that is an interval. So for example, if I go from F and I count up 7 semitones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we land on the perfect fifth, and that works for any note. Just add 7 semitones. Semitones are basically note by note. Okay, so half steps is another name for it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 will always give you the perfect fifth. No matter what key, where you are on the keyboard, it will always give you the perfect fifth. These sound emotional because they go together. They're related notes. Okay? Just because now there's some genres that once you add that 3rd note, it changes the whole vibe. Okay, this is an F major chord. You don't need to memorize this right now, but it changes the vibe. I like this vibe. Now this goes with genres like rock, rage beats if you're into hip hop. The perfect fifth is the chord, and you play it as if it's the chord. Okay, so you're playing it as if it's a chord progression, but again, it's only 2 notes. So once you have this new definition of what a chord actually is, it kind of breaks your mind as to what a chord is. Now, I can go even deeper to define a chord. A chord is more than just what are called scale degrees. You were probably taught that a chord, to make the first chord in a scale, you go root, 3rd, 5th. Okay, but if I close my eyes and I don't know any notes in the scale, and I just play from here, I'm like, what is the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th? It doesn't make sense. So I've defined a chord in a completely different way. We call these chord codes, and I'll give you a chart to download. So basically, you can map out chords using number. This is great for understanding how a chord actually exists. It's the DNA of a chord. I don't suggest you memorize this. It's more of a reference, but now you can understand what a chord is, because now you can get outside of the scale. Most people teach you a chord derives from a scale. It's actually not true. A chord is defined before you even get to a scale. And this is why this video is this long, is because if you don't understand what a chord is, you won't understand how to use it in multiple ways. Again, so far we've learned that a chord can be 2 notes in its original definition. Okay, so something like this perfect fifth interval. Related notes, okay, that's what a chord is related notes. Okay, but it can also be a chord code. So I'll show you what a chord code is. This allows you to go outside of scales and do really creative things. So let's create, for example, a major 7th chord. So I'm going to start here. You don't need to even know where you are on the keyboard, but this is the F note, just for reference. Okay, we're going to count up the keyboard note by note. Okay, so there's a chord code for this. The chord code is 0, 4, 7, 11. That creates the major 7th chord. You don't need to memorize this. I'm going to give you a chord code chart. I would have it up on the screen, but I have to go into my files. Actually, let me pause this video if you don't mind. I'm going to go into my files and find it. All right, it was worth the wait, because here's the chord code chart. Here's what it looks like. So a major 7th chord is 0, 4, 7, 11. Wherever you hit a note, that's considered the 0 point, or the point of rest. Okay, where there's no distance. Okay, remember, a chord is relative notes, related notes, relative notes. Okay, so we're starting at the 0 point, which means there's no relative distance anywhere. We're not going anywhere. So this is 0, and the next note is 4, 7, 11. Now, I don't want you to confuse these with 4th, 7th, and 11th. Okay, people in music theory get lazy, and they call it the 1, the 2, the 4, the 3. That's lazy speaking, because once you speak scale degrees, you actually have to add a suffix, th or rd. So it's the first, or an st. First, second, third, fourth, fifth. Okay, and that that's when you get into the Roman numeral system. So I'm trying to break the way you were taught music theory to show you why you're getting stuck. It's because you're not having the right definitions. Okay, so here's the major seventh, and we're gonna start at 0 and count up our keyboard. So it's just 1, 2, 3, 4. You play those two together. Technically, this could be a chord. It's called a major third interval. You don't need to memorize this stuff. Then just keep counting, 5, 6, 7. Now play all these notes together. That's the major triad, a 3-note chord, tri meaning 3, like a trident, the thing that the mermaid guy holds in his hand. And then we're gonna go up 8, 9, 10, 11. Now play all these 4 together. You now have a major 7th chord. And you don't need to know music theory. I just kind of gave you the music theory terms. But you don't need to know what that means. As long as you can count, you can make this. I'm gonna close my eyes and do it one more time. Close my eyes, pick a random note. I'm just gonna count up. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now we have the, I'm gonna name the chord for you so you don't get lost, but it's called the B major 7th chord. So whatever the root note is, that's the name of the chord, and then whatever chord type, that's, so you say root note, and then chord type. So we are playing a major 7th chord type, and the root note is B, so it's called a B major 7th. So that's where this language comes from. Now, once you understand that, now you're not bound to a scale. You can move anywhere you want. We're a little low. Let me get out of that octave here. B major 7th, okay? Trying to show you on the screen. Okay, B major 7th. That's the chord I meant to hit there the first time. Okay, so now I'm not bound to a scale. I don't even really need to know what scale that is. And this is where you get into jazz and all these other genres. If you learn strictly scales, you will get locked into thinking that you can only play a certain scale degree. I can only play the first, fourth, and you know, you're going down like a first, fourth, fifth, third. You don't have to think that way. You can go outside the scale. That's how you get these. I'm just showing you what's possible. That's how you get these Pharrell, Neptunes type sounds. These cool jazzy tones. That's going outside of the scale. We just played the major and the minor of the same exact chord. And you could do that once you learn chord codes. So that's the power of chord codes. I just wanted to define it in a whole new way, what a chord actually is. Remember that a chord can be 2 notes. That's a new definition for most people, that it can be 2 notes, because you're mostly taught that it has to be 3 notes or more. What if I told you it's 2 notes? If you go back to the etymology of what chord means, it comes from the word accord, okay? And it means related notes. And it used to mean 2 notes that go together. Now there are certain chords that are dissonant and consonant. We're gonna get into this later, but certain chords sound pleasant and certain sound more tense, which is like diminished chords, for example. So a major sounds pretty open. Excuse me, the minor chord here. And then we go to the diminished. Sounds a little more cluttered and tight. So we'll get into all this once we expand, but that's what a chord actually is. You probably didn't even know half this stuff coming in. So that's what we're here to do. We'll get into scale degrees later, like traditional ways to approach music theory, but I just wanted to break the mold and kind of redefine what chords are for you so you can expand your palette. Thank you for watching. It's Game from BusyWorksBeats.com.